welcome to Reflections. Today, I have another controversial and polarizing guest with me. He is known as a life coach in many circles and an entrepreneur, a techie as well. And in some circles, he's also known as a lolscow, if I may be so bold to use that term. He's a very interesting guest, very interesting kind of guy. He's got a lot of opinions. He's a very opinionated individual. I like that. I like people that aren't afraid to share their honest opinions. And he can be offensive at times, or at least some people may find him offensive. I just think he's being an honest kind of a guy. And I do appreciate that. Whether I agree with him or not, and I do disagree with him on a lot of things, but you know what? It's all part of the game. It's all part of life. And so it's really to have those honest discussions and look past our differences, I think is important. And so I think, that's what I'd like to try to do with my guest, Coach Eli, today. Eli, welcome to Reflections.
Hey, thanks for having me, MJ, and welcome to your wonderful audience. I appreciate it. I really am glad to be here.
I appreciate it, man. I really do appreciate you taking the time to do this. I think this will be good. So let me start off here. I've got just one question for you. Why are you always late?
That's a great question, MJ. There's such a thing called entrepreneur time. I'm sure you've heard of it. And entrepreneurs, we like to schedule things and overschedule things, and we like to keep our plate full. We don't like to have a lot of downtime because, when you're not doing something, in essence, you're losing money. So anytime that you waste, you're losing money. But for me, primarily when I'm doing my own live streams, a lot of times I run, 15 minutes late, sometimes 30 minutes late. It's not because I want to. There's other things happening. I'm talking to people behind the scenes. My girlfriend may need something. Somebody needs something. And it's like, I don't like to say no to anyone. That's one of my big problems. I like to be there for people as quickly as possible. And sometimes what I'm going to be discussing on that particular live stream, I'm still gathering information at showtime, like new information's coming through. Have you ever had that happen at the last second right before you're going to go live, MJ, like in the past, and you get new information and, sometimes it prevents you from starting on time? You know what I'm talking about, right?
I do. Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. Yeah, it's one of those things that, it happens. So yeah, I hear you.
But it's wrong, and I do apologize for it, and I am trying to get better for it. I firmly believe that being on time to things, defines part of your character. I'm not intentionally late to things; it just happens to be that way. Again, it's this entrepreneur time thing, and even as an entrepreneur and a coach, we still struggle with things. We're human beings. Just because people are coaches doesn't mean they're perfect. It means that they've had a little more experience in certain aspects that we can help people with. So, but yeah, great first question, man. I appreciate it, man. You got me warmed up already, bro. I'm warmed up now.
It's good. I want you to be warmed up. I want you to be loose. So yeah, that's good. So, and hey, I'm a chronic late person as well, procrastinator. I used to be late for, when I was in graduate school and undergrad. I used to be late all the time, and teachers would I'd walk in and they'd yell at me. So I get it. I definitely relate to you. So, all right. Well, let's get into kind of the meaty part of things right off the bat here. So you are aware of a lot of the things that have been going on in certain, I'll just call them drama circles on YouTube. Several YouTubers now have been canceled because of their activities. And there's been a very concentrated effort by a camp on YouTube to take these people down, to cancel them. So, and one of them is a gentleman by the name of Jamie that we have both known for about 5 years now, 6 years. We all of us kind of go back to about 2017, 2018, when all of this started. And then we've all kind of evolved and gone our own ways, but we're all aware, we all sort of still running a lot of the same circles. So he has been canceled. He's been canceled now for the third time in the last couple of weeks that I'm aware of. And I know, you've got some thoughts on this kind of stuff. And this is no offense to anybody out here I'm just allowing people to have their say. This is them expressing their free speech on here. It's not about, putting anybody down or attacking anybody. So I just want to make that very clear. This is just an open dialogue between people. So that said, so yeah, and you and Jamie have had your issues with each other in the past, and it's been ongoing for a while. And so, okay, that said, I could go on, for a while here about some of this. So, and we'll kind of unpack a lot of this. What are some of your thoughts about some of these recent events and some of the canceling and a lot of the drama and a lot of the nonsense that's been going on lately?
Yeah. Before I get into it, MJ, I want to pay you some props.
Sure.
Despite what's happened in the past, I've always had the utmost respect in you. I've always seen you as a down-to-earth, educated, mature individual. Yes, we all have our moments. Even educated and mature people, we're going to have our moments where people are going to question our maturity, right? Especially out here on YouTube, there are people that question everything, whether it needs to be questioned or not, just for content, aka Mr. Jamie that we're talking about. He makes content out of you breathing fresh air. I mean, that's just the way it goes, right?
Sure.
So, and I know you do something that I do a lot. You preface, and I know you don't want to offend Jamie, or you don't want to say something that's going to trigger him or upset him. But the truth of the matter is this. I'll start off by saying this. If Jamie is entitled to his opinion about us, we're entitled to our opinion about him.
Absolutely.
And one of the,
for everybody.
Correct. One of the things that I've noticed about Jamie, I've known him about 6 years now, going back to 2017, is that, again, he feels like he has the right to talk about you and say whatever he wants to say about you and do to you whatever he feels like. But if you, even say one little thing to him, it upsets him or it offends him. And then he just spins it every which way possible. And I've just grown to learn that, that's his content. His content has been to entertain people in cringy ways. And that is that. Do you want me to get into a little bit of the background of what happened initially between Jamie and I in this group and how this all came about, or what part do you want me to get into? Where do you want me to start?
Why don't we just kind of do that then first? Kind of lay out your history with everybody, really, because and I made some cartoons mocking you to a degree. Actually, it kind of turned into something else, but Cucky Tunes, and so I was a part of that, and so go into kind of lay some of that background for people. Let's do that now, and then we'll kind of go into some of the current events.
Okay, so I first met Jamie back in 2017. I've been on YouTube since YouTube came out. I've had some other channels that I used to use for posting public speeches and presentations from networking events I attended or ran myself. So I first encountered Jamie in 2017 when I started my first real YouTube channel where I was attempting to be a real content creator and coach and stuff like that. When you're doing business and personal success coaching, more on the personal side, helping people with their relationships and stuff like that, you're looking to collaborate with other like-minded channels. And there was a gentleman by the name of Randall Lyon that was a part of my channel that made me aware of this group called MGTOW, MGTOW, which you and I both know stands for Men Going Their Own Way. To sum it up in a nutshell, it's a group of people that feel that the downside risk, a lot of them feel the downside risk of dating or marrying women in the modern world is too great to take that chance. The stove is too hot, modern day divorce laws, child custody laws. And while there is a lot of truth to that, I feel a lot of these guys took it a bit too far. But I was looking for someone that was part of that group that could bring some value to my content. Now, I learned through this guy, Randall Lyon, that there are different pills, of MGTOW, different variations of MGTOW, or, there are, the pills designate, what that type of guy believes in, right? There's the red pill, there's the blue pill, And then there's the purple pill. And the red pill are the guys that have pretty much, given up on women or are extremely overly cautious. And a lot of these guys were degrading women and stuff like that. Then there's the blue pill. We call those, remember, the blue pill simps, the white knights and all that, right? The guys that, are too nice. The nice guy finished last thing and women step all over them, right? And then there's what I call the hybrid, the purple pill, which these are guys like myself that still believe in true love being possible and marriage, but we proceed cautiously with the knowledge and awareness of the red pill. So I was looking for a purple pill channel, and one of the few purple pill channels I found, which was also the largest channel I found, was called the Purple Pill, run by Jamie. It had about 2,000 subscribers, and I was going through his content, and he had some really, really good content. He had great, real content. And I reached out to him because I wanted to collaborate with him. And when I reached out to him, we set up a time to talk through, back then we used to use Google Hangouts. We had this thing called Hangouts on Air, which was shut down years ago. And now StreamYard has taken over that, for those of you that weren't around during that time. And so we got on a private Hangout call, Jamie and I, and he asked me, he goes, well, what do you want, man? What do you want from me? I'm like, I just want to collaborate. He's like, what do you mean by collaborate? I said, I just want to do some content with you. I like your content. I like a lot of the views that you're discussing, and maybe we can grow exponentially together, gain subscribers together and this and that. It's like, is that all you want? You don't want, to try to take money he was very, very defensive. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? I'm just reaching out to this guy, being nice, just wanted to create some content with him. What I found out down the road, MJ, was that he'd already been doing this for several years. He'd been trolled very hard. He'd been taken advantage of on the platform by other creators. So he was in defense mode, right? So, I kind of said, okay, that's cool. Well, dude, listen, think about it. And, let me know if you want to work on some content down the road. I'm going to leave it up to you. I'm not going to bug you, but email me, message me on Hangouts, whatever, right? Well, he started following my content, and then all of a sudden, that was the time in 2017. You remember, MJ, when the apocalypse was happening on YouTube, the advertisers were starting to pull out.
Yeah.
And a lot of the videos back then were being demonetized. That's when YouTube first introduced the yellow icon, which stands for not suitable for most advertisers. Before that, all videos were fully monetized, and Jamie was making a lot of money through ad revenue. But because of the content he was creating was controversial, talking about women and feminism and all that, YouTube practically demonetized his channel. They didn't remove him from the partner program. What they did back then was they flipped all the green icons that were fully monetized on videos to yellow. So his ad revenue probably went from thousands a month to maybe $30 a month. And so he was really upset about this. He was very upset about this. And he reached out to me, said, Eli, you know what? I'm about to leave YouTube. I lost all my ad revenue. There's just really no place for me here. It's changing, blah, blah, blah. And I said, dude, don't give up on your dream. You've got something great. Your content is good. Maybe we can start doing some live streams together. I'm going to start live streaming, and let's just see where it goes. So, we left that conversation. I started doing live streaming. I met some other content creators back in those days. There's one, I don't know if you remember him, Charles F. Gray from Canada.
Oh, of course.
Was somebody Charles F. Gray, he still is a great guy. He just hasn't been around in a while. He's doing other things. I went out looking for other, live streams and looking for other creators. And I found this one creator. Do you remember a guy named Big John from the MGTOW's Freedom Channel?
I do. Yeah. He was really popular there for about a year. Yeah.
Yeah. Big John. I really love Big John. And Big John actually lived in Northern California, about 5 hours away from me, and started following his content, really liked his content. And I did a search for Big John MGTOW's Freedom. And then I got recommended a Charles F. Gray video because he was talking about Big John. And I watched that video, and then I subscribed to Charles F. Gray, and then he went live, and I saw that he was live, and I saw that he was running panels through Hangouts. So I decided, hey, this is a great chance for me to go on a live stream panel with Charles F. Gray and his people and spread my wings and help these people out and start some networking. Now, before I came on YouTube, the previous 5, 6 years, 7 years that I was networking in person, I was doing podcasting and I've done public speaking for decades. So I had a lot of experience with speaking and I figured this is no different. It's just digital. Why not replicate the same thing I've been doing in the real world digitally, right? Make sense, MJ?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely does. Yeah, I think a lot of us felt the same way. Yeah. So
I went on his show. There was a guy, you've heard of him. He goes by the name of Joe Buddy out here. Many people in this community know who he is.
I still talk to Joe. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's still around. Yeah. But that's the first time. That's the first time I ran into Joe Buddy. And I guess Jamie found out about it. I can't remember. I think I may have messaged him behind the scenes. But I made Jamie aware of Charles F. Gray. And through Charles F. Gray, I believe that's how Brian, the sponsor, I don't want to go too far into that. That's how Brian came about. I believe Brian ended up buying Charles F. Gray a Blue Yeti, because he really liked his content. And then when Jamie started coming around, that's how Brian, came into play. Brian, we're not going to get too far into it, folks, but he's a guy that sponsored a lot of creators out here through this community on YouTube.
Myself included, full disclosure, myself included. Yeah.
Right. So from that point, that apparently gave Jamie an idea to start live streaming. Mm-hmm. And then JB Gunner is another creator that somebody, made him aware of me, and JB Gunner started creating some hateful content on me. And when Jamie saw what JB Gunner was doing, he's like, wait a minute, I can do the same thing JB Gunner's doing, but I can do it better and I can monetize it. So Jamie went from the point of about to leave YouTube. I inspired him, and I'm not trying to even take the credit. I'm just speaking the facts. I inspired him to stick around and keep pursuing his dreams. And the next thing that happened was something that I would have never expected someone to do to me, especially after, how much I went out of my way to help them and inspire them to stay on the platform. Right. So that's a little bit of the backstory on how this started. I'm turning it back to you because I've been kind of talking for
you've been talking for a while. No, I know that about you, and I'm going to let you talk as much as you want, and so so and we'll circle back around to some of this history in a little bit here, but let me kind of jump off here and segue into I think what we had both discussed talking about here at the beginning. So I think Jamie is, shrewd and smart in that he adapted himself to the marketplace, and he saw where the money was at. He saw where the money was going, and the attention and the views and the subs, and that is toward drama. And so I think I think you as well as a capitalist, as an entrepreneur, it's hard to fault Jamie for making the choice to adapt himself to the marketplace, to give the people what they want, which was drama. But I think, what has transpired from that is that he is now canceled. I don't see him ever coming back to YouTube. He's on other platforms, and there's plenty of other platforms out there. And I don't see him ever coming back to YouTube because there is such a concentrated effort to take him down, and they're always going to be on top of him no matter what he does on YouTube.
Right.
So, but he is, because of this, and because, he does give his audience what they want, and they eat it up and they like it and they love it. But it offends other people. And, those people who are offended have gone out of their way to cancel Jamie. And so now he is off the platform. And so let's get into that, because I think there was a lot of issues here, broader issues, social issues, like cancel culture, and that whole thing is very interesting to me. So what are some of your thoughts on Jamie being canceled? I mean, do you agree? Do you disagree? I mean, can you see some of the caveats and some of the nuance in this situation?
Well, let me start off by saying this. First of all, let's talk about what type of content has he specifically created? Who has he targeted? Right. Okay. I see two things. Initially, like I was mentioning a second ago, when the other content creator, JB Gunner, was made aware of me by someone else in the MGTOW community, and JB Gunner kind of flipped it around and tried to turn him into this lolcow thing. JB Gunner was basically, I was doing a lot of pre-recorded videos back then. And even when I went live, JB Gunner would replay my live streams and pre-recorded videos in their entirety to an audience of people that loved it when JB Gunner was talking shit about me.
Right.
And so Jamie got on that bandwagon and was competing with JB Gunner for the Coach Eli hater audience. So you had the Coach Eli hater audience that was pretty big back then, because what ended up happening, what these guys ended up doing, I did a lot of networking, met a lot of great people, right? On my channel, I like to keep it positive. I don't want any drama. I don't want any hate. I don't want people attacking each other in the chat. And if people do that, I would ban them. So I had to ban a lot of people, because the people I was meeting, Jamie would come in and JB Gunner would come in and they would troll and they would, and they would just spin the narrative, and they just would bully and harass myself and these other people in the chat to the point of where it just stirred up the pot. And I had to start banning a lot of these people. And as I was banning these people I was networking with that were at one point moderators on my channels, etc., Jamie's like, this is my opportunity to capitalize. Let me reach out to these people, bring them over to my channel, moderate them there, rebroadcast Eli's content, and give them a place to where they can talk since Eli banned them. Right? And that's where this whole thing started. So initially that was his primary audience. Now, over the years, the last 2 to 3 years, it started to dwindle down because I backed off. I realized what he was doing. He was just trying to stir up the pot, creating fake instigated drama and, trying to intentionally trigger me to get a reaction. When I stopped giving him that reaction is when, the audience started to dwindle, because initially, I don't know if you remember, MJ, there were hundreds of people legitimately not botting. Now, a lot of the stuff, we'll talk about that later. I believe Jamie's stuff gets botted all the time. He has 30, 40 legit people. But back then he would get 150, 200 in the box. And those were all legitimate Coach Eli haters, right? Because of how him and JB Gunner spun this whole thing and manipulated it and set it up this way through the fake instigated drama thing. Now, that started to dwindle down. And over the last couple of years, especially the last year and a half or so, there's been another content creator that I've been friends with for over 4 years, RJ Sandifer. He is a blind and autistic YouTuber, good friend of mine. Him and I, when we do live streams and we talk about things, we both have a good radio voice and great banter, and people love our shows. But every time we would reconnect and do a show, Jamie would come in and bring in some of his people and infiltrate those live streams and infiltrate the chat and basically get RJ to flip back and forth between wanting to create positive content with me or drama content with that. Do you remember that? Sorry, go ahead.
Of course. Yeah. No, I mean, I think that, my take on RJ, I've always thought he's sort of, he has a childlike intelligence and he's very gullible. And so he's sort of easy to manipulate in that way. And so, but, and let me, before I kind of forget, and while we're on this topic, I do want to interject this, and then we'll kind of get back on to, what we wanted to talk about. So, as far as like, the chatting and allowing chatters, because I was one of those people that was in your chat, pretty consistently, just having fun. I mean, just, trolling you, trolling RJ, just trolling everybody, really. It was kind of, it was pretty lighthearted. I mean, for the most part, it was pretty lighthearted stuff. And it was just funny. Yeah. It was just, and I've talked about this before. I always treated the chat like it was a stand-up comedy routine. And so I would just go into a chat and just, just for like attention, try to make everybody laugh. And so anyway, but, and this has kind of been a criticism of you for a while. Why not just allow people, haters, trolls, and your fans alike to just occupy the chat and just have their say? Why be so strict with the ban hammer and with the format that you've created, because you have a lot of banned words. You have an extensive banned word list, or at least you used to. I don't know if you still do.
It's still there for the most part,
okay,
but I've dwindled it down a bit, but it's still there. Yeah.
Okay. Why not just allow, just sort of, slough it off, just let it roll off of you and just allow people to just, because you would get a lot more track. You would have a fan base regardless of, they love you or hate you. You would have a pretty solid fan base if you allowed that. So why don't you?
Well, so here's the thing. First and foremost, it got to the point of where anyone that was associated with Jamie or JB Gunner, I didn't want them chatting in my chats because that would give them more content. Now, the thing is, back in those days, and even over the last couple of years at times, while, Jamie and some other people were rebroadcasting me and they were, trying to keep the Coach Eli hater thing going, they would intentionally send people into my chat just to get a reaction so they can get their lulls on their rebroadcast live streams, right? I was trying to stop all that, right? The thing is that, it got to the point of where I just had to let it go and ignore it and let them keep doing it until it dies out on its own. But additionally, to answer your question, MJ, listen, anyone can be fun and entertaining. Even the most professional people can have moments of weakness, whether they're male or female. We can sound uneducated, even if we're educated. Everyone makes mistakes, right? But because I use the coaching title, these people played it off like, oh, is that the way a coach behaves? Is that what a coach does? Does the coach say this? No, we're human, just like you folks are. Mm-hmm. There are doctors out there that make mistakes. Are you going to go out and scrutinize them and say, oh, does a doctor speak like this or have moments of weakness or a bad day? So, but this was just Jamie basically trying to, be an antagonistic son of a gun and just get a reaction from you. He's good at that. He's very, very good at that. So I was trying to minimize that. And also I've always wanted to present my content as more of professional content that helps people and uplifts people. And when you involve drama in there and shit talk, it pretty much, devalues your content. Like, what are your thoughts about that, MJ? Like, did I answer your question or?
More or less. And I've got a few little follow up here questions. So I'll just kind of pick up off that. So, so why not? I mean, I get where you're coming from because I can be kind of the same way of just, I want it to be more, this way. I want my show to be a little, more serious, more professional, that kind of a thing. But sometimes you do have to kind of flex with the audience and flex with the marketplace. I think, you don't have to, but I think, in Jamie's case, I think, he was smart that way. For me, it's just like, I'm not going to sell out. I'm not going to be a whore, it's, just my own self-righteous kind of bullshit. Or whatever, it doesn't necessarily have to be bullshit, but anyway, I that's just kind of the stance I took. But for you, why not, why didn't you, lean in more to what people wanted from you?
That's a great question. And people ask me that question all the time. And the truth of the matter is, anyone can get involved in drama and make money, being a drama, shit show channel or whatever they want to be. But that wasn't the real me. And, whenever I was going back and forth during those days with Jamie, JB Gunner, they were all pretty much acting, trying to get, a reaction to make money and stuff. And for me, I was legitimately defending myself. I didn't understand the YouTube ropes as well as Jamie and JB Gunner did because they had the experience. Jamie had a couple years experience of going through the stuff that they were putting me through, and JB Gunner had been on for years. So these people knew they knew the strings they had to pull to get the reactions they needed to create their content to make as much money as possible. Does that make sense? For sure.
Yeah. And then like, as far as, I could see why you wouldn't want to be live streamed. But the live stream or the restreaming only came about because you banned everybody from the chats. And so I'll just kind of bring it back to that question again. I mean, I understand the desire to not be made a mockery of, and, to not become a lulz cow and to not, have people make content on you. But at the same time, from more of an objective perspective, if you hadn't, if you allowed people to be in the chat, they would have been there. I mean, trust me, I would have been there. I know a lot of other people would have been there for your live streams, and the restreaming probably never would have happened. They would have still made content on you, pre-recorded kind of content, commentary type of stuff. A lot of the stuff that Jamie was doing, on top of the restreaming. So, it's just, why don't you think that could have been the smart? Hindsight is 2020. I get it, but in retrospect, don't you think that might have been a smarter move on your part to just allow it? It would have cut down on the restreaming. It wouldn't have cut down on the content, but you could have just, because there's no such thing as bad advertising, and it's like,
sure.
It's like the Cookie Tunes, I mean, it was just, it became its own thing, and, it got tons of views and people loved it. And, it was the kind of thing that you could have just said, you know what, screw it. These guys are giving me free advertising. Why not lean into that? So, that's kind of two different questions there. But, what are some of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, great questions. And another great question, MJ. So here's the way that I looked at it. There are different types of audiences on YouTube, and I've been trying to target the right audience. And like you said, publicity is publicity, negative or positive. I totally get that. Whether you get bad or good publicity, people are made aware of who you are, and then their curiosity makes them tune in, right? And I get that. The problem here is that this audience that came through my channel and ended up going to Jamie's channel to talk shit about me and to do, to be a part of the restreams, they were not the right target audience initially. So even had they stuck around, it wouldn't have taken the channel in the right direction, and it would not have focused it towards the right audience. So what I've been trying to do, and what I was trying to do and still trying to do, and it's made some headway, is just completely eliminate the drama audience and basically start focusing on other audiences. I've wanted to get away, and many other people that Jamie associated with, infiltrated, however you want to say it. I've been wanting to get away from that Lycan Legion, whatever he calls it, Lycan Theory, Lycan Legion, Chroma King James, which is gone now. We'll share more about that in a bit. I'm sure we're going to get to that. But I've just wanted to get away from all this endless, nonsensical, fake instigated drama, because I'm here to create real positive content to help uplift people, to help them in their personal relationships and professional relationships. And, having that audience around that wasn't there for that and was there for just entertainment and trolling and all that stuff wasn't going to work. And that's the reason why. It's the honest truth. I mean, if you want to ask me any follow-ups, I'm open to it. I'm not upset or anything. I love the questions. I'm just saying, I really want to get to the thick of what you're looking for. Yeah.
No, we'll get there. Yeah. And I appreciate you, this kind of, tangent here. But this is good. This is good stuff. So, but yeah, and just kind of follow up on that. I mean, I think in my experience as well, in the early days of YouTube, because I was here in 2007, 2008, making content, and, it was, It was a lot more, kind of the wild west back then, and kind of anything goes. And it was pretty easy. I mean, one of my first channels, I picked up a couple hundred subs in like a week or two. I mean, it was just easy there just weren't as many people. There wasn't as much competition, et cetera. And so, but I think over the years, one of the things, live streaming came about, and live streaming changed everything.
It did.
But yeah, it really, in my opinion, it ruined YouTube, but whatever. But I think what, it, on observation, at least kind of down here in the, the basement of YouTube, which is really kind of where we're at, small channels, relatively small channels. It's lowbrow content, and what people want is lowbrow content. And I think that's been proven over and over and over again. And because it is so saturated, and the bigger channels they're established, and it's really hard to compete with any of that kind of stuff if you are trying to do something of a more serious nature, of a more professional nature. It's a massive uphill battle. Number one, would you agree with that? And number two, why not adapt yourself to the lowbrow marketplace to avoid that uphill struggle? Because you've been at this for years, and you're making traction, but you're not making the kind of traction that you want.
True. Great questions again. So to go back to what you were saying about live streaming ruining YouTube, respectfully, I disagree with that. And see, this is one thing that Jamie doesn't do or purposefully doesn't do for content. Like, you can disagree with people, but do it respectfully and still, be friends and still collaborate and do other things, right? I think the reason why you feel that way is because of what you've surrounded yourself with around YouTube. Like, for example, the Jamie group and stuff, very toxic group. So I don't mean to be rude. I'm just sharing how I feel. It's just very, very toxic. And when you're surrounded by all those types of drama live streams all day, every day, when you're going from channel to channel to channel, you have Jamie do a live stream. Then we're going to go to Amber's channel. Now we're going to go to Paul's channel. Now we're going to go to, blah, 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 right? It's the same 20, 30, 40, 50, maybe 100 people going from channel to channel to channel, talking smack about each other, and it not benefiting anyone besides the one person that figured out how to capitalize off of this, Jamie, right? And so I can,
and several others.
That's just,
but yeah.
Well, there were a few others, but primarily Jamie capitalized it more than anyone. Even more than JV Gunner, in my opinion, because he basically got away with doing it longer and figured out how to bypass circumventions longer.
But in this Krama, I mean, it's they call it Krama because it's a combination of true crime and drama. There are a lot of content creators who are making pretty good money for the same reasons why Jamie is. So just to kind of put it into some context here.
Yeah. And those creators, honestly, are going to deal with the same thing that Jamie's going through, but they'll get shut down for different things. They'll get shut down for hateful and abusive content, cyberbullying and harassment. They'll get privacy complaints. They'll get copyright takedown notices because here's the thing. It's one thing to do a reaction video to a creator every now and then or one time, but when you constantly badger, a creator and you go back and forth, and all that other creator wants you to do is leave them alone. Yeah, okay, you had your say. You've already beaten the horse, and the horse is dead, and you keep beating a dead horse. So then what happens? They play the copyright game, right? And it's like none of these channels are destined to survive based on what they need to do to make the money they're making. You see what I'm saying? It's a vicious cycle that's always going to end up the same way as what happened to Jamie, what happened to remember Natasha Cooper. A lot of people know who Natasha Cooper is, right? Yeah. And let me, and I don't know if you even remember how Jamie got involved with the true crime community. It was RJ Sandifer.
Yeah. And Lauren as well. Cause they were talking about Natasha Cooper and she's a grifter and all that kind of stuff. And then RJ was going over to Natasha's. And so Jamie kind of picked up on that. And here we are.
Well, what happened, MJ? The Coach Eli drama started to fizzle. Yeah, there were still 20 or 30 people.
It was pretty dead.
The bottom line is, it was dead. It was dead. It wasn't feasible to make the money that Jamie needed to make. So he had to go out and find something else. Yeah. And by infiltrating RJ, when RJ and I several times, we parted ways and got back together. And every time we'd get back together, Jamie would come in with other people from his group. And then they would even leverage what RJ was networking. Like RJ was the one, not even Lauren. RJ found out about Natasha Cooper even before Lauren. RJ is the one that if there's anyone to thank for Jamie's success through Krama, it's RJ Sandifer. I don't know.
Yeah. He opened the door. That's for sure. He definitely opened the door. And then Jamie walked through and he took advantage of it. And it's hard to fault a capitalist for being capitalistic. For what he did, he leveraged, he leveraged that community for his own purposes and his own gain. I mean, don't hate the player, hate the game kind of a thing. I think that's sure. I think it applies here.
Yeah. But what ended up happening, and this is what I kept telling, Jamie throughout the years. I said, look, dude, hey, look, I'm not upset anymore. I'm over this. Keep talking about me. I don't care. I started saying this 2 to 3 years ago when I really started to back away and the Coach Eli drama started to just go away, right? I said, dude, this is not sustainable long term. You know, you're going to get shut down at some point and it's going to cost you everything, right? And all he would say is, oh, that's sustainable long term. Oh yeah. And, you know, he would do all that and he would say, screw you or show me the bird, right? And I'm like, okay, that's fine. And I kept saying, karma has no deadline, dude. And look what's happened now.
Right.
Look what happened.
Right. Yeah, he's canceled.
I think here's the thing, MJ, and I'll turn it back to you. I think he knew at some point it was going to catch up to him. Until then, he was going to ride this out and capitalize it as much as possible, which he did. As a capitalist, like you said, okay, I'll give him credit for that. I don't like anything he did to make the money, but he figured out ways to keep this going longer than most people would to capitalize it as much as possible. Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the best ways to put it. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know if I agree. I think maybe in the back of his mind, he knew that there was going to be an end to this, but at the same time, I think, you know, because Jamie has done a great job at circumventing, you know, just to use YouTube terminology. He has circumvented out here for, you know, and he's even admitted it. He has had, you know, more deaths and rebirths on here than most people. And I think at a certain point, he probably figured, you know, I'm untouchable. I'm the Teflon Don kind of a thing. And I think JB Gunner even kind of, you know, had that kind of an attitude about things because it is easy, you know. If these people if Jamie's haters weren't so obsessive and concentrated in staying on top of every single little move he makes on YouTube, I don't think he would have a problem coming back and reestablishing himself. He's proven it over and over and over again. I mean, you got to give him credit for that. And the only reason that it keeps getting canceled, you know, recently is because of these people. But, you know, so let me circle back, and I'm going to bring it back. We're going to bring it back into, you know, what we wanted to talk about. I just wanted to kind of circle back to one thing before we move on, and because I think it is kind of pertinent. I think people do kind of want to know this about you. And you kind of talked about, you know, respectful dialogue. You know, I'm all about, you know, let's take our emotions out of this as best as we can. Let's keep them under wraps. Let's control this shit. Look, I've raged on here. You know, I've rage quit. You know, I've. You know, I've done all that kind of shit.
We've all done it. We've all done it, bro. You're right. You're right.
You know, it is what it is, man. You know, sometimes, you know, in the heat of the moment, and, you know, there's some people out here who are pretty good at provoking and just poking at you. But so, you know,
Jamie's the best. Jamie's the best. Let's give him credit, bro.
Jamie's good at it. Yeah.
He's the best provoker out here.
Provocateur.
Provocateur. That's what it is.
Provocateur. But anyway.
Yeah, I screwed that up.
No, you're good, man. So I think that, you know, you're kind of infamous for being angry Eli. I mean, that was kind of like, that was your thing. That's what people wanted to see. And I think, you know, with regards to this respectful dialogue in the beginning, and you've done a really good job, I think, at, you know, keeping yourself, you know, more self-control, emotional self-control, you know, which is, it's a good thing. I'm trying to get better at it too. So, but, you know, you did pop off, you did fly off the handle a few times while trying to have these respectful dialogues. So, I mean, don't you think you have to sort of prove to everybody? And I know you probably do think you've proved yourself already, but I think there's a lot of people out here that you're going to have to, and you'll probably never win them back over, you know, to seeing you in a different light, to not seeing you this way. But anyway, don't you think that it's going to take you a while to sort of reform your image, if you will, and reputation?
That's a great question. And, you know, if you had asked me that question 2-3 years ago, I probably, you know, agree with you that it's going to take a while, and, it's super, super important. But this is what I've learned, you know, growing up and, going through all this and just seeing how the internet is and the world is online nowadays versus offline. I think you just have to, you know, be yourself, apologize for what you've done, move on, and not try to prove anything to anyone. Just be yourself, because this is the one thing that turns me off about people nowadays. And this is actually what's turned me off about people in the real world in the past and present is when people try to prove that they've changed. If you're going out there deliberately trying to prove something, it's going to come off inauthentic. And then even if you are truly making the change, no one's going to believe it. You just got to move on, keep doing what you're doing, and get back on track. Yeah, apologize for what you did in the past. Like, I regret a lot of the things I did. And yes, I did overreact. I did snap. I was labeled Angry Eli. And it wasn't because, I was trying to harm anyone. And and to be honest with you, in real life, I never got as angry as I did on YouTube because no one has ever provoked me at that level. And when I realized the reasons why they were provoking me, I look back and I'm like, wow, that was stupid, right? They were provoking me intentionally just to make content and make me a lolcow to sell it as entertainment to their audience. When I came on YouTube, when I first came out on YouTube, semi-full time 6 years ago doing the coaching thing, I didn't know that. And when I figured that out, MJ, that's where I flipped it. But do I feel that I have something to prove and make up for what I've done in the past? No, I've already acknowledged it. And I honestly think that any new people that come around my content now won't even know about the past. And quite honestly, have you done a YouTube search since Jamie's been removed? Like, I haven't. You have to dig real deep to find any Coach Eli stuff. Like, it's all gone, MJ.
Okay.
It's a ghost. What do you think
about the content on your content that other people made on you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of it's
I
gone.
haven't looked into it. Yeah. I'm not surprised. I mean, well, I'm sure you're happy about that, I would assume, because a lot of it was, it put you in a negative light.
Yeah, but I learned to deal with it. This is how I looked at it. I was thinking to myself, yeah, maybe Jamie's going to be removed one day, or these people that have created this hateful content, their day will come. But I always thought, what if it never comes and this is permanently out there, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I learned to accept what I did. Mm-hmm. And anyone that would come across it, I would address it and apologize. And most people know that everyone has a past, mm-hmm. and we make mistakes, and we move on from them. So that's another reason why, I really feel like I have nothing to prove besides being myself. What I needed to do, and I did, and I'll still do to this day, is I apologize for any of the hateful stuff and the overreactions I had. But I mean, what more can I do or anyone do in my situation, right?
Sure. Yeah. Just do the best you can, and keep moving forward. So, well, hey, this is something that it's been kind of a topic of speculation. And I think a lot of people are kind of wondering about this. And so I think I would be remiss in not asking you this question, because I notice a difference in you. A lot of people notice a difference in you. So I think a lot of people are curious and want to know, because there is a visible change in you. Are you on any medication?
No, I'm not on any medication. I don't take any anxiety medication, depression medication, none of that stuff. I can go into more detail if you'd like. I'm open to talking about anything and everything.
I mean, so you don't have to go too much into what you don't want to, but and then we'll jump into other stuff.
No, I've got nothing to hide. Like for me, I've always been an open book, transparent, online and offline. I've got nothing to hide. I've always shown my face, used my name. Unlike a lot of people out here on this platform, MJ, that's part of the problem. You can hide in plain sight out here on YouTube and be whoever you want to be,
true.
Right?
Yeah, very true.
And how in the world can you respect an opinion from a nameless and faceless troll? How can you? You can't. You got to ignore that shit, or you're going to be done on the platform. You'll get run off, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But to answer your question there's only one time in my life where I've had counseling. I was 12 years old, and I've mentioned this before. And this guy, I don't think he's even around anymore. His name was Dr. Bienenstock. And, when I was younger, I had some slight emotional issues. They weren't really bad, but, I'd get hurt really easily, and I couldn't take criticism even back in my younger days. And I'm realizing this now through this YouTube experience, because I couldn't identify back then what was really going on, right? But the reason why it happened is because my mother was, and she's still around, very nurturing woman. And she taught me to be good to everyone, no matter what. If people are mean to you, just still be good to them. Maybe you ignore them, but just don't be mean to them. Don't react to them and this and that, right? But when you're in grammar school and stuff, bro, like people antagonize you worse than Jamie does now on YouTube for clicks, right?
Oh, no doubt.
But you're not as mature and you're younger, you're still learning, so you don't know how to handle these things. So yeah, there were a few times where I would overreact. I didn't do anything crazy, but I would cry and whine and complain about every little thing, right? Mm-hmm. So my parents put me into counseling for a year. I went to see this guy named Dr. Bienenstock, and he had these nice leather couches. It was in, I think he was in a town called Palo Alto, California. If you've heard of Stanford University, I'm sure you have, everyone has. It's in Palo Alto, California.
I have a nephew who was in the PhD program there. So yeah.
Oh yeah. No, great school, great area, very prissy nowadays. I'll tell you that. And a couple cities south of where I live in Redwood City. But, I would go into his office, sit on his leather chairs, and he had his big leather chair. And, he would say, "Hey, Elias," because, my full name is Elias. "Hey, Elias, so tell me about what's going on." I'd tell him what's going on. I'd tell him everything. And then he would say, "And tell me more." And I would tell him more. And then he would say, "And tell me more." But he never, ever gave me any advice on anything. Mm. And I would go home to my parents, after they would pick me up from my sessions. And I'd say, I didn't say this, but I felt like saying, I'm not getting shit out of this, right? And I didn't, because the guy's not helping me out. He's just listening to what I'm saying and not trying to help me fix the underlying issue, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So yeah, I went to him for a year, really got nothing out of it, and basically ended up figuring out, when I got into high school and stuff, how to start to manage these things a little better as I got older and more mature. But no, I've never been on any type of anxiety or depression medication. Sure. Have I had moments of anxiety and depression? Any normal human being that's not clinically diagnosed with this is going to go through periods of anxiety and depression. I'm just a very passionate, high-strong guy that loves life. I've always believed it's true. You're laughing because it's true.
I'm not thinking about strong. Because it is true. You're high strong. Yeah.
Yeah. I am a Greek man that was raised by old-fashioned parents. Especially my father was very old-fashioned, was very outspoken, was very direct. My father was very, very direct. People know that have followed me for a while. My father passed away. I think it's like 15 years now. He was very straightforward and kind of in your face in a non-threatening way, but he got his point across and everyone listened to him. He was firm but fair, and that's how I am. And I think that's why people think like there's something wrong with me, or I'm on medication and stuff now that I've calmed down. No, I've just realized what I've done and why I did it and why it happened. And, I've just learned to manage it better through myself. But let me ask you this, MJ, or let me say this. And the people that are asking or curious about whether Eli's on medication or not, are they on medication? Are they struggling with anxiety, depression, and these? Well, seriously. So who's asking me these questions? People that are going through the same thing or this particular thing they're questioning me on, and they haven't come to terms with acknowledging their own issues, right? And that's where I would come out and say it's a projection. But I'm not upset. I'm saying this is what happens, right? So did that answer your question, or what else did you want to know?
No, yeah. I mean, you definitely answered the question, and I agree with that. I mean, not in every instance on here, but I mean, of the people I know who have kind of raised this issue, there's one or two I know are have struggled with those kinds of things, and whether they're currently medicated or struggling with those kinds of things, I don't know, but and it's the same people that we know and we've known for a while who are raising some of these issues. Yeah. And I just posted a video where I was walking through a panic attack that was triggered by my anxiety. So, hey, I'm, who am I to talk? I empathize. I empathize 100% with anybody who is dealing with anxiety or depression, because, I am dealing with the same kinds of things. And so, I'm not currently on meds, and I'm not going to get on meds because I just don't I don't believe in that, and I think it's a bad thing. Anyway, I won't go into the politics of that.
Yeah, MJ, real quick before you move on, just say I saw that your videos are great. I respect what you're doing out here, and I will do whatever I can to help you get more traction, because this is the real type of content that I've been seeking out here for the last 5-6 years. People like you, and I noticed this in you years ago. The reason why we couldn't do this back then was because of how Jamie was doing things and how things were happening in that group. And if I do an interview with Eli, Jamie's going to be pissed off. And it's like, Jesus Christ, right? But the bottom line is that video you just talked about, that, where you spoke, it hit home with me, right? Mm-hmm. And we need more people like you to come out and share those stories, because that's what's truly going to help these people identify and be able to work through, their underlying issues. You know what I'm saying?
I do. Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate that. Yeah. I've always wanted to be, come out here and be more raw and real and deal with more real subjects. And, it's one thing to come out here and have fun and goof around. And I'm all for that too. But from a content point of view, I just always wanted it to be more about, because I'm just like kind of that way. I guess it's the Sagittarius in me or something, You're a Sagittarius.
I'm a Sag too.
Yeah. So it's just, it kind of goes with the territory, but and it just, it was just early on. It was just obvious, 20 people, 30 people would watch the stuff that, I was the more serious content I was trying to make. It's like, well, nobody gives a shit. So why should I give a shit? It was kind of my attitude. And so, I just I gave up on all that kind of stuff, like I'd given up on other, my more political activist kind of stuff. Cause I used to have a blog, back in, before I came back onto YouTube. I had a blog called Zero Apathy. So I was, very politically motivated that way, but, nobody read it, even though Naomi Wolf was somebody who followed me. And for those, a lot of lefties, a lot of progressives will know who Naomi Wolf is. And I'm not even sure if she's really around much anymore, but anyway, she was one of my followers. And so that was kind of like, that kind of kept me going for a while, but overall it was like, nobody gave a shit. So I was like, well, if nobody gives a shit,
isn't she she's a feminist, isn't she? No disrespect. I mean,
I believe she's like, she's a very progressive political activist. Yeah. And feminism is one of her kind of wheelhouse issues.
Yeah.
But she's, I respected her. She's a very smart woman, very educated woman. It's just, she's very, politically speaking, she's very polarized. And, I've gotten to the point where I'm apolitical. I just can't participate in American politics anymore. It's just, it's too silly. I just can't take it even seriously anymore, because it's a distraction for a lot of people, down at here among the populace, but anyway, I don't want to get into any of that kind of stuff. So, all right, well, good stuff. And I appreciate your being forthright with all this kind of stuff. So
real quick, if you want, I don't know if you're going to segue into my girlfriend at some point, but I could just mention that, she's,
sure. Oh yeah. You mentioned that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Just real quick before we move on, I brought her on my Coach Eli 2 channel last year, and she helped me get a second channel monetized. And she shared her truth, got highly scrutinized by this group. And it was really funny. They were trying to find out who she was and dox her all this time. But when she ended up moving in with me 6 months ago, we knew that after 6 months, her name would be tied in with my address and they would find out, and it's not a big deal. But, she came out and said that she was struggling with anxiety and depression and stuff like that. She's gone through a lot of things in life, but she's been getting the help. Now that she lives in my area, there have been better options for her to see the right doctors and get the right referrals to the specialist she needs. She's gotten the right medication, anxiety meds, depression meds, and all that. And she's just done a lot more soul searching, and her and I talking. She's got a therapist she's been talking to for almost a year, and now she has a psychiatrist as well, all provided through the network covered by insurance. And when her and I went to go see her mother for lunch, yesterday, we're recording this on Friday, May 5th, 2023. On Friday, May 4th, 2023, we went to go see my lady's mother her mother noticed the difference. So
okay.
everything is great. Like, I just wanted to share that with you folks.
Yeah. No, that's good. I mean, despite our differences, out here and all that kind of stuff, we're all humans, and I really, it's one of the things it's, like with Jamie, I mean, I've really tried to overlook our differences because we do have a lot of things in common and a lot of common interests. And I see things in Jamie that I don't think everybody sees. And so he's a human being at the end of the day. We're all human beings at the end of the day.
MJ,
so,
he's very talented. He's very, I don't mean to interrupt you, but just to add to what you're saying there, I can come out despite what's happened to me by him and other people and say the same things I've always said about Jamie in the past when I'm not talking smack about him. That is that he's a very talented person. He has a lot of talents that he could have and could still, pursue in the right ways. Mm-hmm. But but he took the easy way out, in my opinion, and many others, and he went the drama route. And again, honestly, I think he sold out to drama because it was a quick and easy way to make money. Instead of, using his talents and working your ass like I've been for years to build up the right audience and to do it slowly but surely, which would make it sustainable long term. The way that he did it obviously was not sustainable long term. And I just wanted to throw that in there. But back to you, man. Sorry for interrupting you.
Yeah, no problem. We can kind of segue off that too. And I agree. He adapted himself to the marketplace and whether it was the easy way out or whatnot, I don't know. Cause, and, for me again, back to that, I just was, like, I don't want to do that because I would feel like a sellout. And that
he did sell out. Jamie sold out. He sold out to drama. You and I didn't, but go ahead. Sorry.
And when I did participate I made a couple of cartoons. For a minute, I was going to I thought I might sort of start doing some stuff, be involved in the Krama. And I made 2 cartoons, and actually one was about Sarah. So it wasn't even about Krama, which really, and I'm sorry, Sarah, I really am. I'll apologize publicly to you again for that cartoon because I know it hurt you. I know it really hurt her. So anyway, for a minute, I was going to kind of get involved with it. And I was just like, nah, fuck this. This isn't for me. This isn't, I don't want to be a part of this. And so I wasn't a part of it.
It's not who you are, bro. It's not who you are, in my opinion, at least.
And it was driving me nuts. I mean, listening to some of these live streams, I was just like, I don't even, why are you guys even upset? Anyway. So, okay.
It's profitable, MJ. Fake instigated drama equals large dollar signs. Go ahead. Sorry, man. I'm sorry. I'm a little excited.
Yeah, no worries. I'll pick up on that too. The fake instigated. I don't think it's all fake instigated. I think, some of it can be for sure. So anyway,
MJ, real quick, just one thing, real quick before I'm sorry, but, so you said, some of it was fake instigated and some wasn't. Even the stuff that wasn't fake instigated and was real, it was played out beyond what it needed to be.
Oh, for sure.
Played out.
Yeah, it's leverage
for more money.
Yeah. Money
and more donations. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's the game. I mean, and it's hard for me. My position is I'm just not going to be complicit in it. I'm not going to participate in it. But if that's what you choose to be a part of, then that, who am I to judge? It's not for me. It's kind of my approach.
Yeah.
But I get it. I mean, I totally get why people engage in that kind of stuff. It's disappointing to me. And, that's, I guess, maybe the self-righteous part of me. I wish people, and I kind of ranted about that a little bit today. I really wish people would just finally start moving away from this kind of stuff and toward, not to say that, this can't coexist with other things, but for the most part, it's the totality of what the consumers are consuming in that area.
Yep.
So, but it's their choice. It's their life. Who am I? I throw out my opinions every once in a while about it. And then I shut up, because there's maybe only 2 or 3 people who really, listen and care about what I have to say. And
no, there are going to be more, MJ. I'm going to help you, but real quick, MJ, the thing is, remember, and we were talking offline before, and I want to bring this up now before we forget, is that we're talking about the Desperate Housewives effect. Like, who's the market that Jamie is targeting now? It's Desperate Housewives or single women that, and this is with no disrespect. I'm just, and Jamie knows how to play this. I'm going to get scrutiny for this, but it's the truth. A lot of these women, and I feel for you ladies, I'm not criticizing you. You have mental and emotional issues, things that you're struggling with. Maybe you struggled more so in the past and you worked through them partially, but you haven't worked through them completely because look, any normal, decent human being would not sit around, waste their time all day, every day consuming this type of content and then going way out of their way, like what Amber did, to give Jamie, her platform to further circumvent his ban. And yes, you're allowed to have guests on your channel, but when you bring someone on 2, 3, 4 times a week and they're running their same show on your channel through their StreamYard, you're helping them circumvent. Why would you do that to yourself and your channel?
Right.
If you are in a good place, right? Go ahead. Sorry. I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, no. And we're going to pick up on that here, like right after this. And so
oh, okay.
But yeah, I just wanted to say, too, cause I do agree. I mean, and I've commented on this before, just kind of looking at that because it's a big group, Krama, it's a few thousand people and it's predominantly women. And it's, just at a cursory glance, it's pretty easy to see that there are a lot of individuals in that group that have issues, have mental health issues, and they've talked about it openly as well, which is good. I mean, this should be a dialogue, and that's why it's good because mental health is a very important topic, and it should not be stigmatized, and it. So I'm glad to see people over there and myself talking about it more openly, and that said too, I have gotten to know several of these women on a personal basis, and they are very cool people. They're very good people, and so it's not. I just always have to throw that caveat out there. It's not everybody. There are some really cool women, good women that I've met and gotten to know personally from that sector, if you will. So
the problem, MJ, is all of these people, all these desperate housewives, let's call them that. And I'm not saying it's everyone, but there are a lot of these women that are in that desperate housewife type of situation. They're enthralled in all of this and they feel that they have nothing else if this all goes away. The truth of the matter is all of you, including Jamie, all of you ladies, including Jamie, are so much better than what you're doing here. And you can all rise above this and create better content that may even get you more traction the right way than you're getting now. But for some reason, you're all stuck in this rut. And I don't get it. I don't know. I don't know what more to say about it, man.
Yeah. Well, and I've always told Jamie that he's better than this. It's just, he just has to get to the place where I think anyway, he believes in it. Sorry, dude. I just don't think I think that's part of what's going on is you don't fully believe that in yourself, that you are better than this kind of stuff. It might be hard, believe me, dude. I've been fucking grinding out, in this, not just YouTube, but elsewhere. I've been grinding and getting nowhere. And it's frustrating.
Exactly.
As fuck. It's frustrating as so I get it, the avoidance of that frustration and he's felt it too. So he's experienced it. And so he's like, well, fuck it. Why should I struggle and be frustrated when I can just do this and be successful, But again,
right. MJ, you hit the nail on the head real quick. You hit the nail on the head. I want to pay you props. That's exactly what it is. It's like, I think he knows what he's capable of doing, but he knows how much more difficult it's going to be to do it the reasonable, typical way outside of the drama. He knows that he's going to have to work his ass off to even make half or a third of what he's making now. Right? That's all what it all boils down to. Go ahead.
It's a big part of it. No doubt.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm not trying to, dogpile on anybody, and especially Amber, because I've gotten to know Amber a little bit, and she's a very, very cool woman, and she's a single mom, and she's got her trials and travails and tribulations just like the rest of us, and this, and I know that this was a part of this is like supplementing her income, and so losing this, and I have a feeling she'll get her channel back at some point, but
I doubt it.
You doubt it? Okay.
I think anyone that's involved with Jamie, including his channels, and I'm not saying this to even be rude to you, Jamie, you sealed your fate and the fate of any other person that's allowed you to take over their platform. And that's exactly what Amber did. Amber allowed him to take over her platform. So this circumvention, when you get terminated for a TOS violation, terms of service violation, there's no coming back.
Yeah, and circumventing, circumventing is kind of one of the, more egregious crimes in YouTube's eyes. And, and there's no way around it. I mean, he's circumventing and he admits it, he's circumventing and he can, so it is what it is. I mean, there's, no way to sugarcoat it. I mean, he's breaking the rules. And so, but, I think I would throw the one caveat in there. I think YouTube probably wouldn't really care or even notice if there wasn't such a strong group of people on top of every single move he makes on here and making sure that YouTube knows about it. I mean, it is a concentrated effort, otherwise, I think as I said earlier, I think he probably would, one of his other channels that have now been also canceled, probably he could have grown and been just fine without YouTube ever. Cause I mean, there's, 2.4 billion users on YouTube. I mean, their user base is enormous. I mean, it's almost half of the world's population, it's a quarter of the world's population, is a user on YouTube. And so, they've got bigger fish to fry. We're nobodies down here. They don't care. And they only pay attention and look if you direct them to pay attention and look at what's going on. And there's, he's got a group of people that are just making sure that YouTube knows about every single move he makes. And so, so that.
But let me ask you, MJ, before we move on, why do you think, and then I can answer it before we move on, why do you think there's such a huge amount, or such a huge group of people out here that are going to prevent him from ever coming back and keep reporting him and all? Why do you think there's such a strong group or such a large group of people like that?
Well, he's pissed off a lot of people. I mean, clearly, obviously, he has pissed off a lot of people over the years on here. I mean, he admits it. He knows it. He's got a big mouth, and he runs it. And he says he can say some very, not just controversial things, but offensive things.
Yeah. And then, MJ, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll just finish this point. And with this Krama group, and then some of the people from our old group who have now kind of leveraged Krama for their own purposes, who have had this axe to grind against Jamie. It was the wrong group. I mean, there's a sector of, his fan base, if you will, that enjoy that kind of content because they agree with him. But they appear to be the minority in that larger group. And, the majority in that group are offended and take great issue with a lot of what he has said in the past. And so they go after him. And it's just like, we're going to cancel this guy because and I've talked about this, in last week's episode. A lot of it's personal. They mask their personal grudges and vendettas, within these broader issues of circumvention and, whatnot.
Yeah.
Whatever. But it's personal because of the things that he said and done. And so it is what it is. I mean, it's, he knows exactly what he's doing and why and what has happened. And so, and he's moved on to other platforms and I'm sure he'll be fine there. But, well, anyway,
but MJ, real quick up, my quick thought on this. I look at Jamie as someone that has been and was constantly poking the bear. When you poke the bear is going to get triggered after a while and come after you, right? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like when you're a little kid and you're trying to get someone's attention, like your friend, and you poke them on the back, poke, and they don't respond. And then he'll keep poking, poke, right? Or even if people, in this case, he'll go at people, he'll make a response video to some creator to leverage their channel or their network, right? Then that group eventually responds. Then he responds and amps it up more to try to trigger them so they keep responding, right? The problem here is not the fact that he's doing reaction videos or stating his opinions and these people responding. The problem is he continues to poke in a very persisting way to intentionally antagonize these people and use them for content. And this is what I've been trying to tell people for years, and they just kept feeding into him. Everyone's, oh, you're wrong, Eli. Oh, Eli, you're just jealous and this and that. No, this is what's going on. This is exactly what it is. It's antagonistic type of, things that he has learned to master on how to get that reaction regarding what he needs for his content. That's it. That's all it is.
Yeah. I agree. And I think he could have been smarter about it and been able to stay on the platform. And, if he had just kind of toned it down a little bit and pulled back in certain places and, picked his battles, if you will. I've talked with him about this, and again, that's why I have no problem talking about this stuff publicly, because everything I've said and talked about in private is all stuff that I will talk about in public as well. So
sure.
I'm not being a hypocrite here. I don't think I am.
No, you're not.
And I'm not being two-faced either. I mean, Jamie and I have discussed these
You're being very nice, dude. You're being very nice and you're being very respectful. The problem is anything that goes against Jamie's agenda for this, including even probably talking to me or interviewing me, will probably upset him in some way, shape, or form. And you can't let that control your life, bro. That's the thing.
No,
That's all I'm saying.
Hear you. Yeah. I mean, you're going to trigger certain people, and there's no doubt about that.
Sure. Yeah.
So, but I think also part of the issue here is that a lot of the people who are going after Jamie for things like circumventing and ban evading and posting offensive content and whatnot are guilty of the exact same things. There's a lot of hypocrites on the other side. And again, it's really hard for me to take all this stuff seriously because of these kinds of things. And they know it. They're just, they seem to be in that way kind of interesting. It's like, how do they get away with this? Because it's like, it's so out there in the open and obvious, all the things that several of them have said and done, and videos that they posted, they have said some really horrible things and done and some horrible things. It's like, but somehow they seem to be, at least with a certain group of people, they seem to sort of get away with it. People seem to sort of, for whatever reason, overlook the same crimes, and it's not fair. But hey, the world isn't fair. So I don't know. What do you think about that?
Are you basically saying, how can these people get away with what Jamie isn't getting away with?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. Jamie did the same thing JB Gunner did. He created several channels. Why did he do that? Because he knew that the content that he was creating and still is creating is going to eventually catch up to him. So when one channel goes down, he can go to the other one. And JB Gunner played that game for years before this even happened to Jamie. And when JB Gunner started to realize, okay, this, as much as I'm not thrilled with what JB Gunner did, he spit on my father's grave, he did all that stupid stuff. I've learned to forgive and forget. Why? Because he actually walked away from all this. He realized, okay, things are changing on YouTube. I'm starting to get shut down here. I don't want to completely get removed from this platform. Now is the time to change things up, right? And he did. And yes, I've looked into JB recently. I don't think he's monetized on any channels, but he can still create out here, and he's still making money through PayPal, Cash App, etc. More power to you. Hey, you know what? You moved on, right? But the thing is, again, Jamie created a bunch of channels, and when you create a bunch of channels, it's real easy to figure out from a company that, okay, this guy has all these channels because when one gets shut down, he'll go to the other. That's circumventing the ban on the one channel that went down. So, I mean, that's quite obvious. These other people that are creating, and remember, Jamie got shut down for circumvention, not for bullying and harassment and stuff like that. He got shut down, and honestly, it's worse than being shut down for bullying and harassment because it's a terms of service violation. Your basic circumvention is almost equivalent to like stealing. You're not stealing, but it's basically, at that level. You violated overall terms of service beyond community guidelines. You can't come back from that. These other channels don't have as many channels. They may have one or two. Like, if we take, Tiff, for example, I'll just mention real briefly. She has 2 channels. I think one of them got shut down and she got it back, but she's not circumventing. She's not, is she talking about some
let me interject there. To the best of my knowledge, I could be wrong. I believe she is circumventing. I believe that there is a channel. I was at least shown. There's no way to prove, who is the owner of that channel because it's shut down. So it turns into a he said, she said kind of debate.
Right.
But allegedly, there is a channel of hers that was shut down and is still shut down. Thus, she is currently circumventing and ban evading.
Okay, that could be so. But here, let me just say this real quick. Also, when it comes to Jamie, and I'm just using this for example purposes, right? Yeah, I know they're going to make fun of that, but it's okay, right? If you go back to his original channel, it is funny. Thank you for that. If you go back to the days where I first met Jamie 6 years ago and he was running the Purple Pill channel, he changed it to Lycan Legion. He had a lot of videos on that channel and a lot of them were on me and other people, the older days, all the very cringy content, right? And then he started the other channels, right? And he put all these other videos up, right? How many of those videos do you think were flagged back then? And remember, I haven't been flagging people for a year and a half or so. I stopped it because it just wasn't worth my time and stuff. But back in those days, I used to flag all those videos and everyone's videos. How many people do you think flagged the Purple Pill / Lycan Theory channel and the Lycan? How many? And so when YouTube is looking at these channels for circumvention, now they see the history of flags. And they're like, oh my God, this guy's a troublemaker, right? That's why I think he paid the price. And these other channels that are doing similar things are not being looked at as bad because they haven't been flagged as much. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
But that's my thought.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it could potentially be a factor. I mean, who knows, what is going on in YouTube's minds. I think they're pretty quick, because I don't know. I mean, I don't know how this kind of stuff works. I'm kind of guessing they've got like an intern or, some low level employee doing this kind of stuff. And, they're just trying to fly through this stuff as quickly as they can because it's like boring as fuck, Oh, here's another situation of, somebody's circumventing and ban evading and, they have to come in and investigate it. I'm sure they're just like, they probably just take like a quick look in your case. Yeah. Where they do kind of take that quick look and see, oh, wow, this guy's been, flagged a million times for X, Y, and Z. Yeah, screw it. Let's kick him off the platform. He's obviously a bad actor. Boom, you're gone. Next case. So I think that's
that more still gets it. Yeah, but what I'm saying is real quick is that when you have more flags, it gives them more reason to justify doing a deeper look. So if you have a 1,000 flags on a channel, that would say to YouTube, okay, there are a lot of flags here. We need to look into this and invest 20 to 30 minutes worth of resources, through 5 people because there's something happening here. Whereas if there's one flag or no flags, it's like, why even waste the time, even if there's something wrong? It hasn't been flagged. You see what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. Yeah. No,
I get you. Either way, I mean, bottom line is, he broke the rules. He knows he broke the rules, and he's been skating by. He's had 9 lives out here, and it looks like
you had a good run, bro.
You had a good run.
You had a good run. You had a good run more than anyone else doing the same thing. You found a way to do it for 5 years, and as much as I don't like your content and not too thrilled with what you've done, congratulations, dude. You did it for all this time. No one else could have done that at that level. Yeah.
Right or wrong regarding his content. The people who have canceled him and have been on top of him, they're just as guilty as he is. And so it's hard to take this stuff seriously. It's hard to take, and I think this is the problem with cancel culture, because I think it has become political. And I think it has people leverage these things like, Me Too. I think we saw some of this with the Me Too movement is certain people with grudges and axes to grind leveraged a political movement for their own personal agendas. And I think that's
Mhm.
exactly what's happening here. Because it's a sticky issue. I mean, all of this cancel culture stuff, it's complicated because are there cases where there are legitimate claims and legitimate grievances
Yeah,
to censor, at least, censor or, just outright take people off of a platform and in a lot of cases ruin their lives or at least ruin their source of income. And that, has happened for Jamie here is that source of income has been taken away. I mean, for anybody to take seriously that, it was,
Mhm.
it was YouTube's decision and they, he circumvented, yeah, he did break the rules, but it's
Yeah,
only YouTube's decision because a whole bunch of people went out of their way to make sure that YouTube knew about all of this. And he got
sure.
canceled because they were out to get this guy. It was personal. It was purely personal. There was no larger, moral issue at hand here other than I don't like
Yeah.
this guy. He pissed me off and I'm going to make sure he's out of here. That's all it
Yeah,
is.
but MJ, let me ask you this real quick.
Yeah.
Look at
Yeah.
me. A lot
Yeah.
of people hate me. Probably as many people that hate Jamie hate me. A lot of
Yeah.
them came from his side. I'm sure I've been flagged a million times. Why have I never been
Oh, yeah.
removed from the YouTube partner program or received a strike? Because I don't violate the rules. The bottom line is
There you go.
no matter
Yeah.
how many people you piss off, it's about whether you violate the rules or not. If people are going to bring it to YouTube's attention to protect the platform, I get what you're saying though. I totally get what you're saying, but ultimately it's each creator's decision on what type of content they want to create and how they want to run their channels and how they want to play by the rules or not. And here, let me ask you one more thing here real quick before we move on is that, okay, YouTube, yes, they're making money. Yes, it's all good. But it's very expensive to run this company. You need a lot of server space, bandwidth and also, hard drive space, right? And so there's content that has, value. There's evergreen content value. And then there's content that has no value besides that particular day or week or stream that you do. And my whole thing is, besides the actual streams that Jamie was doing to talk shit about another channel that particular day, what future evergreen value does any of that content have? None. It's a waste of server space, right? So is YouTube and Google going to make any future revenue off of a Jamie shit talk stream about Natasha Cooper or whoever else, a year or two down the road, right? They're not going to make any revenue. No one's going to watch it. And even if YouTube's putting ads now on non-monetized channels when and they're making money off of it, they're not going to be able to do that with that type of content. So you got to look at your content's future value as well if you want to survive on this platform.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and that is smart. Because YouTube they're going to look at a lot of this from a business point of view, no doubt.
They're a library, bro. They're a library, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right, of content. Absolutely. And they want to generate revenue off of that library. And I hear you. I hear you. And so I'm sure that's a huge factor for a lot of their decisions. I was like, forget it, man. This guy's not going to do anything for us in a year, 5 years down the road. So see ya. But again, I mean, not to beat a dead horse here. He broke the rules. I mean, he knows it. I know it. Everybody knows it, and if he hadn't broken the rules, even despite being under that microscope that he's been under for so long, he wouldn't have lost the channels. So, I mean, it's
right.
Yeah. But yeah, I just, for me, it's just, I do kind of find it's interesting because the whole cancel culture thing, I think it's also part of why I kind of, retreated from a lot of things, when I started, back around 2017, when it started, the Me Too thing started to really heat up, and it was just like, oh
yeah,
I could see the writing on the wall, and so I really kind of pulled back a lot and from a lot of things, and I kept my mouth shut about a lot of things. It's like I'm just not going to take any chances here, However, from a personal point of view, it grinds my gears to see so many people, and I don't want to turn this into a gender issue or a sexist issue. but it kind of is. I mean, it has, unfortunately, it has kind of turned into a men versus women thing out here. It was a big part of what happened with Jamie is that it turned into a men versus women issue. And then the women just, were just like, fuck it, man. He's an offensive prick. And so if he had been a woman, would it have been different? I don't know, man. Of course, a woman wouldn't have said some of the things that he said either.
I think Natasha Cooper made way more money than Jamie did. But also from what I've learned and seen, I think a lot of people were saying Natasha wasn't circumventing or wasn't, creating fraud and stuff. But I think there was a lot of things that she did do with PayPal and stuff, and some of the fundraisers she kept for herself. So, I don't have any proof. I'm not here to criticize her or attack her. I'm just saying that, maybe if he was female and did it Natasha Cooper style, he might have made more money, but he probably wouldn't have lasted as long.
Probably. It's possible. Yeah. And as far as Natasha Cooper, I mean, to the best of my knowledge, one of the bigger things with her is that she took $20K. She raised $20K for a lawyer, and then no lawyer ever showed up. And so whatever. I mean, I have no proof either way, what happened with some of the, I'll use some politically correct language here. I don't want to say the G word, but her fundraisers were dubious, shall we say, dubious motives with some of her fundraisers. But anyway,
well, you want to? I'll say it. I don't care. You want to call her a grifter, like they try to call me a grifter. How can I be a grifter? You guys have made way more money on this platform than I have. Call me. Here's the thing. I'll come out and say this: if I ever grift, I will come out and admit it myself. I don't have the heart and soul to ever grift, which is why I probably haven't made a lot of money on this platform, MJ. I've made my money elsewhere, but that's the thing. And the truth of the matter, MJ, I hate to say this, you almost have to be a grifter to make money nowadays online.
I agree with that. Yeah. And it's one of the reasons why, and why I just don't do certain things, because I think you have to be unscrupulous out here, especially down here, and probably from top to bottom on YouTube. I think there's a lot of unscrupulous activities going on, but I think especially down here where it is lowbrow content and a lowbrow audience and questionable motives, questionable morals out here. And I just, again, it's why I just really steered clear of a lot of it, because it's bad juju. It's bad juju, number one. Didn't want to be complicit in it. And I just, as we're starting to see what's happening to, several creators now, they're getting taken down. And so, I don't need that. I don't need that on my conscience. Okay, let's maybe kind of get back into some of the personal stuff with you. And you've talked about it a little bit too. And you've had some really vulnerable moments out here. I got to respect, and I even respected it back then, even though I mocked you for probably your most vulnerable moment, which was your breakup with Dana. And then, your reaction to that. And I made a Cucky Tunes episode out of it. And it's something that people bring up often about you when they talk about you, because, it is a very high watermark kind of moment. But anyway, and you've talked about, dealing with, and talked about it here tonight, some anxiety issues and whatnot. So, I mean, I can only imagine, and it's this way with a lot of people, I can only imagine dealing with what you've had to deal with out here on YouTube, especially, back, 3-4 years ago when people were coming at you hard. How have you dealt with that personally, on a personal level? How have you dealt with that and process it and overcome?
Another great question. And I'm sure you've heard of Kelly Clarkson. Most of us have. She has that song, "What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Stronger," right? That's the first step to that answer. Okay. I've mentioned this many times through many of my streams and videos out here on YouTube, and I'll say it again here. When I first came to YouTube, I had thick skin. I got that from my father. And God rest his soul. But when I came out on YouTube and I realized how crazy it is. And with the live streaming aspect now and nameless and faceless trolls, having thick skin isn't good enough on YouTube. You need tough skin or thick skin times 10.
Mm-hmm.
So, and a lot of people said this, and I think you may have said it back then too, and it makes sense. Like, you know, all of this that Eli has gone through, all it's done is made him stronger and made him immune to any of it happening in the future. So, you know, when I went through all these things, when I went through the breakup with Dana, yeah, and I had that video, and I think that video has been blacklisted on YouTube.
Good for you.
Well, here's the thing. What a lot of people don't know, and I mentioned it back then, is I've re-uploaded my entire library of my old channel to another channel. They're unlisted and private. It's called Coach Eli Classics, videos from my former channel. You can search that and find that channel publicly. But okay. I re-uploaded when I got fiber internet. You know, I put, you know, all my external hard drives and re-uploaded everything with the original thumbnails. It took me like a week to do it, but you know, I got it re-uploaded because, you know, that way it'll come up in the copyright match tool and you know, it'll protect the content. But, going back to that video, you know, it was a self-reflection video. It was a raw and real video. You know, and the song Chicago, Hard Habit to Break. I mean, let's give you a moment of some entertainment here, but raw and realness at the same time. It's like, you know, you don't love what you got or you don't know what you got till it's gone. And I found out a little too late. It's true. I fucked up, MJ.
Yeah.
I did. I made mistakes.
Been there.
Right. And let me tell you, bro, you know, I learned from those mistakes. And now with my girlfriend, Dawn, that I'm with, I learned how to approach this YouTube thing with her differently. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, it came at the expense of Dana. And again, I love my woman. My woman is amazing. Her and I were meant to be. Dana and I were not meant to be for whatever reason. And a lot of people are saying, oh, you know, if Dana took Eli back, he'd leave his. No, I would never leave I love my current woman. She is unique. She's the most unique woman I've ever met. She's interesting. I'm interesting to her. And it just works, right? But yeah, that video, was me being raw and real. I look back at it. I'm not ashamed of it. I've even done, now here's the thing. When it's my content, I can use it all I want without getting reprimanded by YouTube because it's my freaking content, right? You know, it's funny, like when I did a live stream using that piece of content, it shows up on my copyright match tool on my other channel. And I'm not going to flag myself for copyright on my own content, MJ, you know, just throwing that in there. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, it was an interesting time. It was not easy to deal with. I was hurt. I was very hurt. And I left YouTube. I shut down my channel a couple weeks after Dana and I split up. Needed to get rid of that content. And needed to just start fresh. I went to Facebook. I was doing Walking with Purpose streams. You know, I called them the Daily Walk back then. And I did like maybe 30 or 40 of those. And then, you know, your buddy and everyone's buddy, Joe Buddy, right?
Yeah.
Re-uploaded all of my Facebook stuff to YouTube, which I eventually.
I was watching them. Yeah.
Well, you know, it's funny is that, a few years back, like, you know, all that channel was still up and you can actually, you know, file, you know, copyrights even with content on Facebook as long as you show that the date was, you know, before they re-uploaded it on YouTube, right? Mm-hmm. So I started flagging that channel down that Joe Buddy re-uploaded. It took 7 copyright strikes to take that channel down. I'm sitting there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh man, I kept filing and filing and filing. I'm like, oh, finally they took this shit down. And it's like, but so yeah, so I came back to YouTube and, you know, yeah, initially I'll tell you, I was hurting over the Dana thing and just coming out and creating. It was my outlet. It did help me work through it, but then I got over it. You know, there was this woman that I dubbed the activity partner. Yeah. And she was actually my girlfriend for a year. Listen, you know, I was trying to be protective of her and I never, you know, nobody ever knew who she was. No one knew her name or anything. I mean, come on, guys. I'm not going to sit there and go hiking on weekend getaways with a woman and be just, and come on. Everyone knew, right? But I was just trying to protect her.
Oh, yeah,
right?
we all knew. Yeah, yeah.
Then her and I, after a year, we split up and I went on a few dates since that point, and then I found my lady Dawn, and that changed everything. That just totally changed everything. And I learned, I mean, there's so much to talk about, but the gist is, yeah, these people put me through a lot back then. Mm-hmm. And I was attacked, while I was doing live streams at my park, Red Morton Park. I had people stalking me in real life. A lot of that, ties back to Jamie. Indirectly, direct, however you want to look at it. I'm not holding it against you, Jamie. It's all said and done with. You'll never admit to it. People know the truth. I really don't care. I'm just saying, like, that was part of your I'll say this one more thing, MJ.
Yeah.
There was one stream where, I confronted the infamous Mr. Ka with the PT Cruiser.
Okay.
And, once I finished that stream, I put that stream to private before I finished processing so no one could download it. And then an hour later, Jamie has the whole stream and he's doing a reaction video to it and saying, oh, Mr. Ka, sitting there stalking Eli at the park or whatever it was, right?
Right.
So, all that stuff. Yeah, I know. It was funny. You remember it. We don't have to go too far in it. But,
well, actually, I would kind of like to pick up on and talk about that. Yeah, but go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
okay.
no. I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think it is, one of the more, was one of the bigger moments in the sort of Eli saga back in the day. And for those who don't know, allegedly, according to you, there's a couple, they hang out with Jamie sometimes, and it's Mr. and Mrs. Ka. And you claim that they were stalking you, or at least, tailing you at a park and where you live. And so, it's I'm going to be honest with you. I'm still dubious that it really happened. They deny it. They're pretty adamant about it. I mean, it is kind of paranoid. I mean, let's be honest. It is kind of paranoid to think that happened. And in Jamie's defense, and really, it's not just Jamie. There's lots of people who do this, and because I've had this happen to myself, because there are some people on here who, for whatever reason, they just go around copying and downloading everybody's work with the intent that, maybe later on I can use this against somebody. And there's, there's a guy, that guy from Louisiana that, we both know, he's infamous for doing that. And some of his associates, I was kind of shocked at some of the shit that, it's like, why are you downloading my stuff? But anyway, he does. That's just what a lot of people do on here. And
he bots people too, and it's a waste of time and money. But anyway, go ahead. I know you're talking Mr. Jones, but go ahead. It's all right.
Yeah, Mr. Jones. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. You're not a fan of me either, but whatever. I don't even care.
I'm not a fan of him either.
So, but I think Jamie has done that kind of stuff. And I think back then Jamie was doing that with you a lot. I think he was screen recording a lot of your stuff, if not all of it.
Yep.
Just, under the pretense that it might get removed, and so that he has it. I think that's sort of the, that's ostensibly, that's everybody's motive. It might get removed, and so, but we have a copy of it. It's like, okay, whatever. Again, there's several people who do this kind of thing. So I think, knowing that, I just have to take it with a grain of salt that he did that because he knew, that this was all pre-planned, and he knew that he put the cause up to tailing you at the park, in their PT Cruiser.
I don't think he put him up to it. I think they offered to do it for him, and he participated. And again, I want to be fair about this. I mean, I think they offered to do it.
Okay,
is what it was. But go ahead.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll never know. Maybe on, somebody's deathbed, there'll be a deathbed confession someday.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I'm dubious. I mean, I don't think it happened that way. I really don't think that the cause were doing that. They deny it. And, I believe them. I believe them. I don't mean to dismiss your feelings about this, but, is it possible? I mean, can you can you accept the possibility that, you were just being paranoid about it and you kind of let it get away from you in this one instance?
That I think it wasn't that I was wrong there. Is that what you're saying? Or
yeah, let me rephrase that kind of phrase that awkwardly. Yeah, that you're wrong, that they weren't, the cause were not involved in any of that kind of stuff. That it was just, you're infamous for forming, what became termed cuck-spiracies. And I apologize for using it. I know you don't like that, but it's an Eli conspiracy. Yeah, it's an Eli conspiracy theory. Yeah. That you're wrong about that particular one.
I don't know 100%. I've said this before. I'll say it again. I don't know 100% if that was Mr. Ka. I highly assume it was. Mm-hmm. Regardless, that PT Cruiser was following me around the different areas around the same time where I would go live to do a walk. What they would do is I would promote my walks an hour or two in advance. And so when they would see that, they would go out there and wait for me because they knew where I was going, to Red Morton Park. Right. Mm-hmm. And so, it was on multiple times where this PT Cruiser, they came behind me and they were looking at my car and my license plate and all this stuff. Like it was the same PT Cruiser around the same time during that particular week. So, I mean, are you going to say it's all coincidence? Mm-hmm. I mean, the bottom line is I really, I'm over it. The point of the matter is they were just trying to create content. They were trying to scare me, and they, were trying to just get a reaction so they can have a good laugh and Jamie can make money. That's all it boils down to,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and on the other hand, there are people who have more than one person has shown up at the park and elsewhere. Mm-hmm. J.B. Gunner, for example, showed up at your father's grave and, egregious. I mean, just reprehensible act, to spit on your father's grave, and
he lost a lot of support for doing that.
He should have. Mm-hmm. But, and then again, there are, people, it's a thing, and several other things have happened. People have posted Craigslist ads and put up flyers and shown up at the park. So, it's not 100% out of the question that, something like that could have happened. It's like that old, saying about conspiracy, it's not a conspiracy theory, or I'm not paranoid if what they're really doing to me is happening, and so I see where some of your paranoia comes from. It stems from real things that have happened to you.
Yeah, but here's the thing, MJ. No matter which way you look at it, okay, JB Gunner and Jamie know who was there, what was real, what wasn't real. Mm-hmm. And even if it wasn't real, don't you think it would be in Jamie's best interest to sell it as me flipping out and saying, Eli's just flying off the handles, right? Even though I wasn't, if he can sell that to his audience, it's more beneficial to him, through clicks, views, super chats, donations, right? You see what I'm saying? Sure. So it would be in their best interest to sell it like I'm some lunatic that's lost my marbles, even though they know I'm right. You understand what I'm saying? That's all. That's my response to that. Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, there's, it's become a he said in this case. Your proof has been a little, your only real proof of that happening is, your anecdotal evidence, as well as the, the live stream. Jamie having a copy of your live stream that you hid. And that's the only, other than that, there is no real proof. And so, it leaves it.
Well, MJ, one more thing real quick. If we go back to the forgotten part, before the day where I confronted the supposed Mr. Ka, there was a car that had a female and a child on the passenger side. And as I was walking to the front of Red Morton Park during the stream, I still have that stream somewhere, right? They took a picture of me. And then all of a sudden, right behind that car, that same PT Cruiser turned into a driveway, right? Okay. So, I mean, come on. You can't sit here and tell me that this is all, and I showed all that back then. And here's the thing again, I don't really care. It's all said and done.
Sure.
It doesn't matter what's true and not true. The point is the way that Jamie had to sell it to his audience was the way that he did it, not necessarily it being the truth of what happened, or not. You understand what I'm saying? It's about what was going to get clicks, reactions, donations, etc. Yeah, and at the same time, try to make the guy that's trying to run a professional business out here look like he's flipped his marbles, when the truth of the matter is, more than likely he was right. And I'm not even trying to, argue whether I'm right or wrong. I'm just saying I know now what the MO was. I get it. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. I'm going to kind of swing it back around to kind of your personal trials with all of this. I mean, that had to be hard to deal with, hard to process. I can only imagine, what it's like. I mean, I've had some similar experiences. I mean, I don't want to go into it here, but because of my involvement with things like Occupy Wall Street and some of my political activism and whatnot, even though I was a nobody, this was back in 2007, 2008, kind of still in the wake of 9/11 and the Patriot Act and whatnot. And so they were really looking into everybody back then. And so I get it. I know what it's like to sort of to have a target on your back, but I had a target on my back from, law enforcement in this country. Anyway, maybe I'll go into that someday. And share
that's interesting, man.
In detail. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So I get, it makes you paranoid, and you're constantly looking over your shoulder. And so I get it. I feel you on that one. And so,
yeah.
It's that along with all of it, the whole thing. And I don't want to beat a dead horse too much. It's just interesting to me because I'm having dealt with a lot of this kind of stuff. I'm just always curious to know how other people have dealt with this kind of stuff. I mean, like on a daily basis. I mean, like when you would shut down, your streams and whatnot. I mean, you had to be going over this kind of stuff in your head, and just kind of thinking about it and wondering and just feeling some kind of a way about it. And how did you deal with all of that? How, when it was at its worst and when it's heaviest, what were some of your methods and techniques for dealing with it and getting over all of this and moving on? Because I still think you're hanging on to a little bit, but I think overall you've kind of, you've done a pretty good job. I mean, you're still here. I mean, it's like you said, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. You're still here. I think you are to be commended for that, for not giving up and, just saying, fuck it, because it would have been easy. And I think a lot of people would have said, I get it. So how have you dealt with all of that turmoil and whatnot? And how has it made you a better person?
I will share this, and a lot of men that are insecure within themselves and talk shit about women will probably disagree or not like this, but I feel women are very, very important to be able to balance a man out between their rough masculinity and allowing them to be vulnerable. And after Dana and I split up, and I was hurt and I'd been through all this, like I put myself back out there, not right away, but 3 months after. And that's when I met the activity partner. And she was nice. She was, she loved to go hiking, and we would go hiking all the time, and we'd get out of town on the weekends, every other weekend. I'd stay at her place or she'd stay at my place when we didn't go out of town. That was the distraction. And, the only reason why I'm not with her is she ended up, walking out of my place one night for no reason. And I think she ended up going back to her ex that she had dated before me for 5 years, and they had split up a couple years before she met me. Because there's nothing that happened. Everything was great. But while we were together, she was a distraction from this YouTube stuff. She was someone to bounce this off of and get the female perspective and get the more nurturing, and emotional side of it. And men have emotional needs too. It's just that other men really don't want to talk about their emotional needs with other men. So the only people us guys can talk to are women about it. And the only woman that really wants to hear our emotional things are women that are into us and are dating us and really care for us. Right. That's how I see it. Right. So, my distraction from it, or my escape from it, I wouldn't even say it was a distraction. My way to balance it out was, being with a decent woman, getting out of town, going hiking, getting out there, smelling the fresh air, and doing other things. Yes, would I think about my next piece of content, during those times? Sure. Was it in the back of my head? Yes, but not as much as people thought it was, because I was out doing other things. The problem is, MJ, a lot of these people through Jamie's group and stuff, this is their life. Their livelihood is tuning into these streams every single day, all day. You know what I'm saying?
I do. Yeah.
And so, and I'm not saying that to be mean or anything like that. This is their escape, their outlet is doing this. My escape is actually escaping and getting out of the house, getting out there and doing something with real people in the real world, outside of the online digital world, right? So that's how I handled it. It made it easier. It wasn't easy, but it made it a lot easier. And guys, when you have a good woman in your life like I have now, you can sit there throughout the day or at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day, whenever you two talk, and you can bounce things off each other, right? And so that's how I did it, MJ. Like yeah, exactly. Finding that special person, that right one, is not an easy thing, but it's also not impossible, like some guys think. You just got to keep trying until you find the right one. In the meantime, have
frogs. Yeah, I get it, man. I've been looking for a long time. Yeah.
Oh, MJ, it's yeah, dude. I thought I had the right one in the activity partner after Dana, and she walked away. Now this one, Dawn I'm with now, like Dawn is so respectful. Like, yes, we've had our moments online, and we will banter about things online and stuff, but no one really knows how we are behind the scenes. I mean, she's a sweet woman. Yeah. She's got a great family, and everything is great, but go ahead. Sorry. Turn back to you, man.
No. I was going to interject there, too. Do you think YouTube was a big factor in your breakup with Dana?
Absolutely. 100%. 100%. I've said it since then. I'll say it now because it's kind of been buried on my channel, and this is going to be a new interview being released. But yeah, absolutely. And again, like I mentioned earlier, I learned a lot from my experiences with Dana and bringing her on YouTube, to the point of where I've handled it a lot better with my girlfriend, Dawn. And, now, we didn't put out who she was. We kept her name and face out of it. Now people know who she is, but here's the thing. I've learned how to handle it better. I actually prepped Dawn for this YouTube audience. Like, I prepped her before we even went live. I told her everything to expect. I told her, if you say this, you put it out there, they're going to say this and that, right? And trust me, it's harder with ladies because, they've got, men and women are both emotional creatures, but you know how women, they react more so to everything emotionally than men typically do, right? And so, I prepped her for it, and it still was not easy for her initially, but she had a lot more advanced knowledge and preparation than Dana did. What happened between Dana and I when we were doing this stuff was happening on the fly in real time. I didn't have the experience. She didn't have the experience. We're getting hammered, and neither one of us had any idea of how to handle this shit. But it was a learning experience that came at the expense of that relationship. Yeah.
That's unfortunate. Yeah. Collateral damage.
But MJ, one more thing I always say, things happen for a purpose. And the reason why that happened was so Dawn can come into my life, because she was the one that was meant to be with me. Okay. Right? Good. I believe in that, but go ahead. Back to you, man.
Yeah. No, I think that's good here. So you're back live streaming again. You were doing you had a side gig for a while there, and you kind of, you're live streaming and whatnot sort of, was inconsistent, but you seem to be kind of back doing that again, live streaming again. So what do you got coming up? What's next for Coach Eli? And, anything else that you want to kind of, let the audience know?
Yeah. So real quick, just to back up real quick to the DoorDash Uber Eats thing. I did that for 3.5 months. My lady, moved from her place to my place. We started making the move, I believe it was last November of 2022. And she, she hasn't been working. I needed to get in there and bring in some additional income to handle some unexpected expenses that we both had. And so I did the DoorDash Uber Eats thing for 3.5 months. And sometimes that's going to happen, folks. Sometimes you got to do that to make ends meet. So I stepped away from YouTube, and I was making some pre-recorded content in the meantime on the main channel, Coach Eli Elias Mellis. But now we finally got settled in. Her and her dogs have been here. We've pretty much squared away most of what we needed to square away. I stopped doing the DoorDash and Uber Eats thing because it wasn't necessary anymore. Plus, there was a little minor accident that happened when I was parked stationary waiting for an order. Some young college student with a Mercedes tapped my rear right bumper, put a little scratch on it, not a big deal. And that was a wake-up call to me. I'm like, the liability exposure of doing this is just too much. So I just said, this is the time to stop. Don't need the extra money anymore or as much of it, and move forward. And then now I'm back to creating, actual content. So now that you're asking what is in the future, more content with my lady Dawn. Eventually she will come on camera. We're looking at, her and I are looking at, getting a secondary microphone in the studio, so she can sit next to me and we can, do things and people can see both of our faces. We want to run more live streams where we can answer people's questions in the chat in real time. Mm-hmm. To spread more positivity, help uplift more people, help more people that have anxiety and depression, learn to manage it better, and we can share with them the resources they have that can help them manage it better. From business perspectives, we want to share with people that, you do have rights. And if you are screwed over in the corporate world, you do have rights, that most people don't know about. And, I mentioned this on my channel, about a week ago or so, but I'll say it again here. There is something that my lady and I will be discussing, regarding, her situation with her former job, at some point soon when this situation's all resolved. That's as much as we can say for right now. Mm-hmm. But we want to share with people the resources they have personally and professionally to better their lives and to get ahead. Now, also, we're in one of the roughest economies we've ever been in. Inflation's at an all-time high right now. We all know that. And we want to share with people how to better budget themselves to get through these rough times. Where you can cut and, where to spend, etc. So that's what we're looking to create, in the future, MJ.
All right. Well, sounds good, man. I wish you well with whatever you do going forward. And so just keep doing what you're doing. And I really appreciate you coming on here and taking the time because, I know you're busy and I don't know if you're streaming tonight or not. Are you? May 5th?
Yeah, I may end up doing a walking stream, as of the day of this being recorded, probably around 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. But that's going to be it. Probably some more streams over the weekend and some more streams throughout the following week, and then some more pre-recorded content coming to the main channel. I mean, I'm coming up with a content strategy, with my lady, and, we're just trying to, put it all together. I mean, we have been very busy. Mother's Day is around the corner. We celebrated Mother's Day with her mother, yesterday, because her mother is going away back to New York to visit, my girlfriend's aunt, which is her mother's sister, for Mother's Day. So we spent Mother's Day with her yesterday, and then when Mother's Day comes around the following week, we're going to spend it with my mother. So yeah, we're taking care of all that, and once that's all cleared up, we're going to really be able to focus in on all this stuff.
Good deal, man. It's good to hear. So, well, again, thank you for coming on. hopefully people will find this entertaining and informative and useful. I think this was a really good conversation, and I enjoyed it. I just like having dialogue with people, just an open, honest dialogue with people. And I appreciate you, having that with me, because it's not everybody is capable of it, number one, and not everybody's willing to do it either. So thank you so much for being, professional and mature and respectful. So yeah, I thank you.
Yeah, it's funny. My lady's screen name there. Yeah, respectfully, maturely, and professionally. And I've been saying that for years now too. And they had some fun with me with that phrase, but yeah, it is what it is. But MJ, thank you so much for having me. I greatly appreciate you taking the time as well. And whatever you need from myself and my end and the good people that I know out here, I'm willing to help out. You just let me know what you need. We're connected on Facebook Messenger and email, and it's easy to reach me. When someone has value, and when someone's not wasting my time with bullshit, I'll get back to you right away. If you're gonna blow smoke up my ass, then you're getting canned. Sorry.
I get you, man. Nobody's got time for that kind of shit. Yeah. I get you. So, all right, man. Well, that is it for this episode of Reflections. There are donations, links in the bottom. Tune in next week for another episode of Reflections.